It is Brad Pitt, after nearly a decade of silence, finally choosing to speak in his own words.
Brad Pitt is breaking his silence. The actor is speaking out for the first time in an interview with GQ, published May 28th.
The story is not about glamour or victory. It is about the weight of years carried in silence, the cost of protecting those you love, and the loneliness of watching them drift away.
In silence, we carry the years, paying love's price through sacrifice, protection, and inevitable loneliness.
For 8 years, the world spoke for him, painted him in headlines he could not correct, and judged him through fragments. Now, in 2025, Pitt breaks his silence.
The battle is officially over. After 8 years, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt have finally settled their bitter divorce.
Not to rewrite the past, but to mark the end of it with calmness, with clarity, and with something final. The interview that changed everything. In May 2025, Brad Pitt appeared in an issue of GQ. The photographs showed him seated in a dim studio, the light falling softly across his face. He did not look like the polished figure often seen on red carpets. There was no attempt to hide behind glamour. What he gave instead was a stillness, a mood that hinted at long years carried silently. This was not a promotion for a new film. It was not a performance or an advertisement. For the first time in nearly a decade, Pitt chose to speak about his private life, about the divorce that had followed him since 2016.
Exclusive interview and photo shoot with GQ magazine after Jolie filed for divorce 6 years ago.
When asked how he felt after the legal proceedings ended in late 2024, he answered with words that were both brief and final. "It's just a legal matter that needs to be finished. I've moved on." He did not dwell, did not accuse, did not defend. The simplicity itself felt heavy, like someone placing a stone down after holding it for too long. What caught attention was not only what he said, but how he said it. His tone was calm, free of anger, but also free of longing. It was the tone of someone who had already walked through fire and had no wish to step back into it. Pitt spoke of change. He admitted that in the early years after the breakup, he leaned on alcohol and on distractions, but he stopped. He chose sobriety, gave up marijuana, and turned inward. He described the process as breaking down walls he had once built to protect himself. Those walls, he realized, had also kept him from truly being present. He did not pretend the path was easy. He confessed to loneliness, to the hollow feeling of distance as his children grew further away. Yet he never asked for pity. He framed the struggle as necessary, a way of facing himself without masks. The interviewee did not answer every question. It was never meant to. What it offered instead was a glimpse of a man who had decided to stop hiding. His silence had ended, not with noise, but with acceptance. The flight that broke a family. The unraveling began in the sky. On September 14, 2016, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie boarded a private jet with their children for a long flight from France to Los Angeles. By the time the plane touched down, their marriage was over. According to Jolie, something happened during those hours that crossed a line. She accused Pitt of being drunk, of yelling, of lashing out at her and the children. At the heart of it all was their eldest son, Maddox, then 15. Reports claimed Pitt had been physical with him. The incident was never captured in photographs, but the accusations spread faster than any truth could. Within days, Jolie filed for divorce. What had been the image of Hollywood's strongest family dissolved into whispers of violence, fear, and betrayal. The FBI opened a case. The Los Angeles Department of Children and Family Services began its own investigation. Every headline carried Pitt's name alongside words like abuse and unfit father. 2 months later, the agencies closed their files. They announced there was not enough evidence to press charges. On paper, the case was finished. But in the public mind, the stain lingered. For many, the absence of charges did not equal innocence. It became a shadow that followed Pitt into every courtroom and every headline for years. Neither Jolie nor Pitt has ever publicly described the exact events of that night. Silence became its own verdict. It left room for speculation, for doubt, for narratives shaped by fragments. From that single flight, the family fell apart. It was not only the beginning of a divorce, but it was the moment a story of love turned into a decade-long battle where no one would emerge untouched. Custody and the children's distance. When the divorce shifted into courtrooms, custody became the sharpest weapon. Angelina Jolie wanted full control. Brad Pitt asked for equal rights. For years, hearings and appeals moved back and forth, each ruling shaping how much time he could spend with his children. At first, Jolie held primary custody. Pitt was given visits, sometimes with supervision, sometimes under the eyes of therapists. In 2021, he won a ruling granting him 50% custody. For a moment, it looked like balance, but Jolie appealed, and the decision was overturned after questions about the judge's ties to Pitt's legal team. The fight reset, leaving Jolie in charge once more. The courts were not the only battleground. Media leaks showed Jolie's documents, her side of the story, reports of Pitt's behavior, details of the flight, and even private images found their way into the press. Pitt rarely answered. His silence, meant to shield his children, left him powerless in shaping how the world saw him. The deeper wound was not in legal papers, but in hearts. As time passed, Maddox, Pax, and Zahara stepped away. Even the younger children grew quieter. For Pitt, losing their closeness cut deeper than losing any ruling. The Chateau Miraval battlefield. In the hills of southern France sits Chateau Miraval, a vineyard and estate that once symbolized love. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie bought it in 2008, restored it together, and built a wine brand that carried their names. Their wedding in 2014 was held there, with their children painting designs for Jolie's dress. What was once a dream setting slowly turned into a battleground. After their separation, ownership was divided. Pitt controlled 60%, Jolie 40%. For years, it remained in uneasy balance.
Without Pitt's consent, Angelina Jolie has sold the shares of her winery she owned.
Then, in 2021, Jolie sold her share to the Stoli Group without Pitt's consent. He argued they had agreed no one could sell without the other's approval. Pitt accused Jolie of deliberately harming him, bringing outsiders into a company they built together. Jolie countered, saying he tried to push her out, even pressuring her to sign a non-disclosure agreement. She refused. What followed were years of lawsuits stretching across the United States and France. Judges made small rulings, but no final settlement came. Miraval became more than property. For Pitt, it was a piece of his identity, a work he poured himself into. For Jolie, selling it was her way of leaving the past behind. The children's voices. The deepest scars of this story are carried by the children. 6 lives shaped in the public eye, now moving in different directions, many of them away from their father. Maddox, the eldest, was at the center of the 2016 accusations. Since then, his bond with Pitt has disappeared. He left for university in South Korea, choosing distance both in geography and in heart. Reports suggest he no longer recognizes Pitt as a father. Pax followed a similar path. In 2023, he shared words online hinting at resentment, calling his father absent. The post vanished quickly, but it revealed a truth that silence could not hide. Zahara made her choice more quietly. At college, her official records listed only Jolie as her surname. It was a small line, but a heavy signal. Shiloh, once seen as close to both parents, filed her own petition at 18. She requested her surname be legally changed, removing Pitt altogether. The act was independent, financed by her own savings. It was not a rebellion. It was a decision. Vivian now works alongside her mother in the theater. Knox remains under Jolie's care, less visible but still distant. One by one, their voices have spoken, not through interviews, but through choices. Each choice leaves Pitt further apart. 2 separate lives. By the end of 2024, the divorce papers were signed. What remained were 2 people walking in different directions. Brad Pitt chose visibility. Angelina Jolie chose silence. Pitt returned to work, appearing at film festivals and premieres. His role in Wolves, alongside George Clooney, reminded the public of his craft. The reviews were steady, not dazzling, but enough to show he had not lost his touch. More than the performance, it was his presence that mattered. smiling on the red carpet, standing beside his partner, Inés de Ramón. Their relationship, which began quietly in 2022, grew into something steady. By 2024, they lived together, and Pitt no longer hid from cameras. Jolie, meanwhile, stepped deeper into art. Her portrayal of Maria Callas in Maria drew long ovations. Critics praised her discipline, her patience, her restraint. Off-screen, she poured herself into humanitarian projects and into her children's lives. She avoided interviews about Pitt, letting her work and her choices speak instead. Two lives, once intertwined, now orbit apart. His focus is on rebuilding, hers on creating. Neither path erases the years behind them, but both show determination to live without looking back. The story does not end with victory. It does not end with defeat. It ends with distance. Brad Pitt has spoken at last, but his words cannot undo the years already lost. The children have chosen their paths, and silence has shaped them more than arguments ever could. Angelina Jolie remains steadfast in her own world, while Pitt carries the weight of acceptance. What lingers is not noise, but absence, the space between what was and what can never return. Perhaps that is the real legacy of their story. Not breaking, not healing, but learning to live with silence.